Just a heads up, Audacity messed up the audio recording, so we'll be out of sync in this video and get progressively worse. Enjoy! My mom's asleep.
Okay.
Mom's asleep. What time is it right now? It's 1:23 in the morning. I apologize for the 3-month hiatus of the B-side. I know all my raving fans were disappointed at this, and for you people that have supported me, I'm truly sorry. As you can tell, this isn't the usual set of the B-side with me. It's a bit of a disassembly. Planning on moving things to my basement, the mother's basement. Very iconic, but alas, the people doing the renovations have taken more than a year at this point. Nice. So the podcast has kind of been put on hold. My backdrop got peed on by my cats, and that is plural now. I have another kitten, so thanks. Please leave a comment if you want to see my kittens. Please. It helps me. All right. Enough rambling. Yeah. Today I got a special guest. My
name is Kody Kota Lawrence Yoshioka Cox.
Cox?
Cox.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Cox.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Guess you learn something new every day.
Apparently, I think my aunt, or sorry, not my my uncle's wife, my aunt was at an airport one time, and they were reading out their passports, and it's oh, Sherry Cox, and then there was another person who went by, and there's Bertold Siemens or whatever, and they're haha, Cox and Siemens.
You gotta hold the mic closer to your face, Kody. I would recommend just holding it.
Okay. How about now?
That's gonna be a lot better. Yeah, it's a bit disassembled right now, so this is gonna have to do. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I should just ask you some questions.
Sure.
By the way, whoever's listening or watching this, I have no questions planned.
Okay.
So I'm sorry in advance if this is a total garbage fire. I just really wanted to make this. So, all right, we're gonna start off real easy. How has your day been, Kody?
Oh, you know what? It's not too bad because I was hanging out with you.
Oh, thanks, buddy. What do you get up to?
Well, I woke up at fucking 12, and then I stayed in bed for another hour and a half reading random Google posts about stuff about cat senses. Apparently, their vision is not as good as humans, but they're very good at detecting motion. And so yeah, it's pretty interesting that I always thought that cats had really sharp vision, but apparently they don't.
They're just good at seeing things move.
Yeah, and they even have whiskers to help know where their prey is, because they have blurry vision when their prey's up close. So they actually use their whiskers to sense what's right in front of them. They're chasing a mouse or something.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I had 2 things I wanted to talk to you about.
Met
really.
Up with this guy.
Oh yeah.
At what was it? 8 or something.
A bit past.
Yeah. Had a microdose of acid today. Meditated for half an hour or so. Apparently it's not good to meditate while you're microdosing, because it's kind of having someone help you lift weights. So I guess I'll stop doing that.
Do you want that on the air?
Sorry?
Do you care if people hear that?
I really don't give a shit.
Damn. I guess you're not going to show this to your mom.
No.
Okay. Well, Kody's mom, if you're watching this, you heard nothing, okay? I love you. Shout out to moms.
I will say the same.
Okay. But yeah, I really wanted to talk to Kody today about art and ADHD.
Cool.
Because
those are 2 things that do mean something to me.
Yeah, and I mean they mean something to me too. Like Kody's the full-blown artist type, which is pretty neat. So I'm curious, how did you get started doing art? Like what made you want to create things?
I think what allowed for me to start doing art was, well, first of all, my dad was an artist, and ever since I was probably like fucking 2 or 3, like maybe 3 or something, I would do sketches. The first sketch I remember doing was at a QE park, and I sketched some I think it was a duck. I think I sketched a duck. I don't know, I've been kind of always an artist. I don't really remember there being like a point in time where I started doing art, but it's just always that thing that I go to when it's just that like substance that I have in my life almost, which is a pleasure not to be feared, I feel. I first started off with drawing all the way through elementary school and then high school, and I just used to do like a lot of gory, dark. I used to cover a lot of dark topics, and like it almost looked like art from Berserk, I would say, up until I did psychedelics, and then I started like painting all these like nice floral symmetrical mandalas and like all that gooey stuff. And right now I'm just kind of combining the two of my styles that I've been experimenting with, just like the dark side and like all this like like the flowery like psychedelic esque type things into one style that is unique to me, I guess.
You're finding the style, and for people who are curious as to what you're making, where can they find some of your art?
Oh, well, you could see my art on Instagram. My Instagram account is called, well, the handle is luminous_moon_art, and you can see everything there.
At least some of it. You should check it out. It's actually very impressive.
Thank you.
No, seriously. But yeah, that's just what we were doing today. Funny enough, we made some paintings in my basement. We drank a bit of kava tea, hence the sleepy vibes right now. It's been
very sleepy.
It's been a mellow night for sure. But yeah, one thing I was wondering about is how do you find that your ADHD interacts with your art? Like, I'd imagine sometimes it's a bit of a blessing and sometimes it's a curse. So kind of like, what are both sides of that?
Well, when I was in I think high school and elementary school, I just wouldn't do schoolwork, and I would just draw. Like, I was like, whatever, I didn't give a fucking shit, I'll just draw in, because I couldn't fucking stand my time being there, despite being on ADHD medication. It made me more hyperactive, and I just kind of channeled that energy into doing art instead of giving a shit about schoolwork. Well, I was doing pretty good in school until like I was 14, which is when my dad died. But anyways, yeah, and then like a lot of fuck shit happened, and that's when I started painting or drawing those like really gory, almost like medieval-esque type scenes, probably like sometimes with battle scenes, like monsters ripping apart like women, so on and so forth.
Spooky. How did your ADHD affect it though, Kody? I'm gonna try and keep you on track.
Art itself?
Yeah, like your experience with it. Like I guess you said that it made you focus less on school, and do more art.
I think I'm grateful for that.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. That's where I developed most of my skills, by not giving a shit about school because I had ADHD.
That is pretty reasonable.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't have a chance to like spend that much time on developing their art skills in like high school because they're just so occupied with their schoolwork.
That's fair. I feel a lot of people just don't have the motivation to create art.
It wasn't really a motivation. That was just the thing I did. ever since I could remember. So,
Yeah? So do you say you feel a motivation to create, or is this just something that you do as like...
Well, it depends. Like, ideally, I would just be drawing or painting just because I want to, and I wouldn't have to motivate myself to do it. But sometimes when I'm doing a painting for someone else, for like maybe I'm selling a painting to someone, and I'm not feeling the vibe to paint, then I would have to like kind of force myself to start painting, even if I'm not necessarily motivated. Sometimes I might like, That's a weird question, because it might take some energy for me to like get motivated, like become motivated to do it. But once I become motivated to do it, I don't really need to force myself. I just kind of get into the zone. I guess that's sort of everything with like, it goes the same way with everything when you have ADHD. It's just all about starting the task, and once you start the task, it doesn't end.
Yeah, I find a similar thing. Like, if I can make myself do something, yeah, unless you're not interested.
And
but
then
if
you start doing something else, and then another thing happens, and
that's true.
You go over there.
Eventually, the thing you're not interested in becomes stressful, and then you're interested in it because you're stressed about it, which also works pretty well. That's been my strategy for most of school. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a funny thing that a lot of people assume that ADHD means you don't have much focus, but I think it just means you can't regulate your focus very well.
Yeah, some things for most like daily tasks, schoolwork and so on and so forth, you can't really allocate as much attention to the task, because you're just simply not, it's just not what you're interested in. But for the things that you are interested in, like say if I wanted to do art, that's all I'm going to be putting my attention towards. And say if I started doing art the entire day, I probably wouldn't do anything to like even run my biological processes. I might even sometimes forget to, or just wouldn't feel like eating, because I just want to do art. And that's where all my attention beans go to.
That's very fair. Gotta use them productively, I guess. I find myself doing that often. How long is like a long day of painting or creating for you?
It could be honestly, it could be on and off, because I might go between like painting and then like practicing the guitar maybe, and I'll just be doing all the things that I want to do that day if the art starts. So let's say, I guess 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah?
Yeah, of painting.
That's fairly reasonable, actually.
Yeah, that's like my average day of painting, I would say.
That was less than I was expecting, which is kind of funny. One thing I've noticed with how you paint is you're very like methodical about things. I've noticed you make small changes over a long period of time. I guess that's only a generality, or is that even a word? I don't know. I'm gonna make it one for today.
Because I don't know the actual word for that.
Generalize. I guess that's a bit of a generalization, because I think you do a bit of everything, a little bit. Like just tonight we made paintings in a night, whereas sometimes it might take you like 2 months to do something, right?
Yeah, usually it takes a couple of months to finish a piece.
What do you find to be more rewarding? Like, do you enjoy just being in the moment and trying to throw something together for a night, or is it more satisfying if you spend like a really long time being meticulous about it?
I guess. Well, obviously I'm quite a bit more satisfied with the finished product if I were to spend more time on it, but it's kind of the same. Like once you get into the zone of painting, you just kind of forget everything else, and it doesn't matter for how long you've been painting. It's just you're in that space. I find it to be like the experience of painting itself probably isn't that different. Like if I'm working on a really large piece that's been taking me a long time, versus like if I'm just working on a smaller piece that I've been working on for like maybe an hour or something. Like it's just me doing art, and I'm back in that space, and it's not really, the experience of painting itself isn't more or less rewarding. It is just it's just fun.
Cool.
Yeah, finishing a larger piece is definitely a lot more. Like once I finish it, I get more of like a dopamine rush when I like actually finish the piece. If I were to finish a larger piece, obviously.
I could imagine.
Took a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I had a question and I immediately forgot it. What a bummer. I love my brain sometimes. I'm not even gonna try and remember it. That's okay.
There's a bug in there.
There's a bug.
Yeah.
Oh, Cody's got a bug in his gel light. Oh, I see the little fella.
He's gone.
Damn, this is riveting content right here. Me forgetting my questions. This is what you get, people. This is an unplanned podcast. But yeah.
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise. What other kinds of art do you do, Cody? Other than painting, is there anything else you've been enjoying?
Lately?
In general, you could say something that you've done in the past that you liked, or like right now, what you're into doing other than painting.
I've been, for most of my life, actually drew. I only started painting until starting probably about 3 years ago. Okay.
Gotta keep the mic close to your face.
Me? Like, oh, you don't have...
I don't have headphones.
Headphones on, okay.
I'm just looking at the waveforms on my computer, and you're really quiet, Cody. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I used to draw for most of my days. I haven't drawn in a long time, but recently I've gotten into this thing called, it's not a visual art, but it's called the jaw harp. And I've had this for about a year or so. It's a pretty funky instrument. I keep losing it though. And whenever I do, I sprint to Longimaque to buy a new one, even if it's like 5 minutes before they close.
Shout out to Long and McQuaid being awesome. I spend way too much money there.
Yeah. What did you get there?
I mean, all of my recording equipment and instruments, basically. Which is quite a bit. For the people that, I mean, you're only looking at this on a fucking little camera, but there's, a guitar, a bass guitar, recording equipment.
6 guitars.
Yeah, there's a few guitars up here. A bunch of other random crap.
Keyboards.
That's true. Though some of these I didn't get from Long and McQuaid. Yeah, the audio interface. Useful shit. Support Long and McQuaid.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this, but I'm pretty sure they're run by the mob. Long and McQuaid, if you're watching, I did say that.
Really?
Yeah, okay.
Like when you get in there, they're such nice people.
Oh, they're so nice. I love them.
But they're actually the mob.
This is only slightly unconfirmed.
Nice mob.
I'm not going to tell you why I think this, because I feel like I might actually get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Long and McQuaid. Please don't dislike me and support me more. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, as far as art goes, you said drawing, jaw harp, and painting. I guess you are an art school student.
Yeah.
You can stereotype yourself like that a little bit.
Wow.
What shit do you do at art school?
The art program I'm at is at Langara, actually. I like it. So pretty much the first year of the program, you can actually take however many years you want. There's been this person it's expected that you complete it in 2 years, but one person has been in the program for 5 years. Yeah. But on the first year, you can pretty much you get to experiment with all these like different kinds of mediums, such as or kinds of art like sculpture, painting, drawing, printmaking, which is like using ink to running ink through like either a screen which you draw patterns or paint patterns on, and then the ink comes out on the other side according to that pattern. Or you could go into ceramics. Actually, the first year you have to go into all of those, and in the second year you can actually specialize in one of those topics, or one or two of those topics that I mentioned, and you get to take the second year courses or the advanced courses, and you just you could go deeper into the topic or the field that you choose to go deeper into. So a lot of people like to go into ceramics, and I can see why, but I think I want to know how to paint. I think that's going to be my thing, but printmaking is also something I want to do, because in the future I want to be able to maybe print designs on a skateboard, or a shirt or something. I think that would be a good way to make money.
Yeah, I think it would. So is that the ultimate goal then for you, Kody, is to sustain yourself through creating art?
I think another idea for that I have is maybe I might do some visual effects for movies. Special effects.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I have to know, like, people in the film industry, apparently, to be able to get into that.
By special effects, do you mean like painting sets, or is like digital effects?
I think both.
Okay.
Or just like maybe making a prop or...
I see. Well, I know a guy.
Really?
I do, actually. Love to interview this person. If you're listening, Reiner.
Cool.
Love you. Love to interview you sometime. Please come over. That would be a lot of fun. Anyway.
Yeah, talk to me about
Yeah, you should. It would be funny.
film industry.
But yeah, that's interesting. I guess it would be pretty ideal for you to make a living off art.
Yeah, I haven't actually really thought about like turning that into an actuality. I've just been doing art, and occasionally I just talk when someone asks me how the hell I'm going to support myself in the future. I'm just like, I'm going to do art.
I like that.
And a lot of people end up homeless like that, but you know what? If I'm homeless and I could do art, I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's fairly reasonable, honestly. Maybe not the homelessness part.
Yeah,
that would
as long
be
as I could do art and
subpar. Yeah,
have friends. Yeah,
I guess that's all there really is there?
Yeah.
Why do you value art so much?
Well, I think without art, that's a good question. Art gives meaning to life, in my opinion. I think people talk about art a lot. They bond over music. I think everything would just be really dull and extremely boring without having art anywhere. I mean, even in like the most, even say like a grocery store, they have to play music. Otherwise, it would just kind of be dead inside. Even if you look everywhere, even like garbage cans, they have all these like designs that aren't necessarily functional, but they're just there, just to look cool. I don't know. I think everything wouldn't be very as cool as it would be if it wasn't for art.
I think that's very fair.
I think it's a very important part of human life, and we've always kind of owed our meaning of existence to art.
Yeah, I feel like art is underappreciated, but it's in so many things, like the music we listen to. Even like, to me, there's an art to like making a good conversation or anything really. Like this in its own way is an art I'm, trying to get better at. It's kind of cool to think of like, how can I make a conversation better? Or even just like interacting with people. In any life, there's an art to knowing people, to getting along, to being sociable, stuff like that. So I feel like we're all very artistic beings in a way.
Yeah.
But it's rare when people can acknowledge it, I think.
Well, sometimes you have to, because you can't even run a fucking business without art. Like, what if you just had a Brisk bottle that just said in like black letters on a white background that said Brisk? Like, no one's gonna fucking buy that shit. Like, you have to have art to be able to advertise your products. And
little lemons and shit.
The world kind of runs on art.
Yeah, honestly. I think it's cool. I admire it. Art is always something I want to do more of, but never really find myself doing. At least infrequently. But I don't know.
You did a piece today.
That's true.
That's cool.
That's true. Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. It's pretty funny too, because like Kody and I both have ADHD, so we just shut up and painted. It was pretty funny. But
we had some conversations that I don't remember at all.
That's true. I think that's why we're doing this. I was talking to him and I was like, I would be cool to interview you. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I don't know. This is a bit impromptu.
I'm gonna steal your Brisk.
That is entirely reasonable. Trying to get that ASMR chugging. Oh no, Kody, please don't. Please don't.
Hey, I wasn't totally trying to finish your brisk.
That's okay. I don't care. It's just iced tea, bro. Chill. Questions. I don't know. I feel like that's art. It's not that much more to it, is there? It's not that much more to art, is there?
Well, I suppose ideally you'd have a scene where you'd show some art.
Yeah.
Especially my art.
That's too bad. Go on his Instagram, you'll find some.
Well,
oh, you know what you could do? Could you give us a little jaw harp solo? Do you have that in your pocket right now?
All right.
Here, I'll give you the hot mic right now.
What?
This mic is hotter.
This mic is hotter. What does that even mean? Is it heating?
No, it just means that it's picking up more on this mic than on your mic.
It's like, why would you?
I'll just hold them.
Okay.
Just keep that one in there.
Okay.
It'll be good. I'm sorry.
Right,
Technical difficulties.
Both sides of. There we go. I got it.
I'm cutting you off.
Okay.
If that's not art, I don't know what is.
Keep doing it forever. That is art.
Thank you, Kody.
It's eternal.
What?
Huh? It's
What?
eternal.
It's a what?
Art is eternal.
Okay, I thought you said it's a turn on, and I was really concerned for a second.
Why? What? I was losing my mind.
A little bit. That's okay. What was I gonna say? I have no idea. I noticed you were breathing a lot.
Lose your mind when you're doing art, but
You're breathing a lot. I know that breath is something you have a cool connection to. You are the most dedicated Wim Hofer I know.
yeah,
That's true.
is that so now?
Truly.
That is true. Maybe. Well, I know Wim Hof is probably.
No, but I mean like personally. You ain't no Hof, man. But I don't know. For people who don't know, what the heck is a Wim Hof?
Oh, well, Wim Hof is a guy. He's a Dutch yogi. He also has like a number of world records, such as like he just like does a lot of weird shit, like holding his breath underwater for like 14 minutes, or in ice water for 14 minutes, and like I'm pretty sure he like once hung from like a string in between like hot air balloons at like 14,000 feet or something like that, or like he would like do a marathon in the Arctic Circle in just his short boxers. And yeah, so I think I'm not sure exactly when, but maybe 10 years ago, like I think people started interviewing him And like they're just like, holy shit, this guy's like kind of fucking superhuman. And he started sharing his breathing technique, which is, well, called the Wim Hof breathing technique, which is probably what you were trying to refer to.
I was just trying to get you to talk about it.
Ah, okay. So yeah, it involves just circular breathing. So you take the breath in and then you release it. So there's no effort in the process of exhaling, but you want to bring your breath, when you're inhaling, you want to bring it in. So you repeat that step 30 to 40 times, and then on your last breath, if you could do it 30 or 40 times, it doesn't matter, whatever you feel comfortable with. You take an extra deep breath, and then once again you just, and then after that step, when you exhale, you don't release all of the air from your lungs. You just simply depressurize your lungs, and you don't use your diaphragm at all. You're letting your lungs kind of just decompress naturally without putting any effort into it. And once that step's over, you try and hold your breath. It's not for as long as you feel comfortable with. I usually go from like probably around 3 minutes. I think I would say that's the average time I go for. I stopped timing my Wim Hof breathing because that just makes me feel a bit stressed during the session, and I end up, it doesn't last as long, so I stopped timing it a long time ago. And I've had a number of moments where I've just felt, I have no words for that, but it's just some like emotions will arise, and I'll occasionally cry, but it's like it's a good cry. And one time I felt like the most recent one was I realized how grateful I am, or I became grateful, so grateful for all the friends I have, such as you. And I started sobbing uncontrollably for like 5 minutes, and that became like laughter after that. And yeah, good shit happens when you do the Wim Hof breathing technique. And combined with that, I take cold baths and cold showers. Every morning before I go to work, I take a cold bath. And since I quit coffee, that's kind of been like the thing that's been giving me a lot of energy in the morning. It's also really good to take a cold bath after you've worked out, because it's good for your muscles, regenerating muscles. But I think apparently it's a really good way to train your cardiovascular system, because when you apply like a healthy amount of stress to your body, your autonomic nervous system has to deal with that stress. And if you're applying like a decent amount of cold to your body, obviously you don't want fucking hypothermia. You don't want to be in like a snow ice bath for like 2 hours, which is what Wim Hof does. But I'm not at that stage yet, definitely, so I probably shouldn't be doing that, and I can't. But I have taken a snow bath before. It lasted about 10 minutes. But yeah, your autonomic nervous system kicks in, and you're basically training your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system to like deal with stress, including like anxiety, adverse conditions that your brain might start your nervous system might start overreacting to if it doesn't have a properly trained nervous system, which is something that a lot of modern humans kind of lack, now that we've just kind of tried to make everything as comfortable as possible for us, to the point where as soon as we leave our comforts, we just want to go right back inside. And yeah, I feel fairly comfortable in the middle of winter, just wearing like probably like 2 layers or something, meditating shirtless outside for like 30 minutes in the snow. No problem. Yeah, and I think that's really made me, and that's, I think that's really helped me quit weed as well, because it's like an actual, like, it's a way in which I've literally trained my nervous system to deal with like my mental health issues without having to use weed, because I've trained like the part of my nervous system which counteracts stress.
That's very neat. I want to touch on that point, but first I'm going to tell you this for the nth time, but please hold the microphone closer to your face.
Okay.
Just like pull the stand all the way up, or
just
hold
gonna
it.
do this.
Yeah, because you're going to be really quiet.
You can hear any of what I said.
They can.
Anything of what I said.
Well, I'm going to compress the audio to all shit, and you're going to be a bit crunchy, but it should be fine.
Okay.
It's a lot better. You're just going to sound better like this. So please, thank you,
Sure.
Cody. Yeah.
I know how to use a mic.
Don't worry about it. It's your first time talking in a microphone, I think. I am weirdly used to it at this point. But what was I gonna say? Right, quitting weed. It's been a while. This dude also inspired me to do that, which is something I meant to do.
Do what?
Stop smoking cannabis. It's been many months for the both of us. Many months, which is pretty wild to think about. So yeah.
Like 9 months from me, 10 months soon.
Yeah, almost a year, which is pretty crazy. 'Cause yeah, that was right after I met you, Cody. And I remember you were struggling with it at the time when
Was
we
I?
first met. Yeah, I remember meeting you in English
school.
class.
Right.
Yeah, in school, and that was something we talked about.
Yeah, what did we say?
I don't know. I remember I had stopped at that time, and then I ended up getting back on it, and I stopped again. But you were feeling fed up with it. So
Was I saying that?
yeah, you were.
Oh, that's exactly why I ended up quitting.
Yeah.
I wanted to quit.
So what about weed made you feel fed up?
Well, I feel like when I say this, a lot of people will may feel the same way. But I feel like the way in which I started using this substance a number of years ago was not great. It ended up turning into a situation where it became what ended up being what caused my problems instead of what actually helped me, because that's how I thought it worked in the beginning. I would get bored, I'd get depressed or something. Oh, just take a hit. And I think that's how a lot of social groups work, and a lot of people get together just to smoke weed. And after they smoke as much weed as they want, they just kind of become silent and awkward and start looking at their phones. And you could really do that by yourself. So that's exactly what I did. Whenever I had stress, whenever I felt like I was in a pinch, I'd just take a hit. There's no need to deal with the issue. I just smoke weed, and that just kept going to the point where I think that my theory is that by kind of neglecting your own issues like this, they kind of build up over time, and I neglect it by smoking weed, obviously, and at some point you just have to look at them because they get so big and terrifying that weed just doesn't become enough to hide them, just to cover it up. But I didn't really realize that at the time, so I would get stressed and I'd smoke more weed, and I'd get even more stressed and smoke more weed, and so on and so forth. And I think it took me a very long time to realize this, but when I did, I was like, fuck this shit, I'm fucking done, I'm over this. I think smoking weed makes you irresponsible for your own, well, at least in the way I used the substance, it made me very irresponsible for my negative actions and habits, because who gives a shit if you could just smoke weed and have a good time? Doesn't matter what you do, or doesn't matter how you hurt others or hurt yourself, just smoke weed.
Yeah, I can relate to that, funny enough, but I'm curious if you feel that was an issue with the substance or an issue with how you were dealing with it.
I think it was an issue with how I was dealing, or how I started using the substance. But I think a lot of people use the substance in the same way, especially because it's sort of normalized and they don't really think of it as something that is like especially unhealthy for you, just smoking weed every day. I mean, fucking, it's encouraged.
Yeah,
Smoke weed every day.
very much. It's very acceptable, especially here in Vancouver.
It's a healthy thing.
I'm doing it for my stress. I'm stressed and depressed. I need weed, people.
There was a dispensary called Stressed and Depressed.
It's kind of funny, but no, like I think that a lot of people don't take it as seriously as they do with other drugs. Like if you show up to your friend's place already drunk and they're just fine with it, that'd be pretty weird. You just drink by yourself all day, you might have a problem. But if you do that with weed, people are just like, oh, he's a stoner.
Oh yeah, man.
That's normal. That's Vancouver, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think that people don't think of it as seriously as they should in a lot of instances, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it inherently. It's all about how you use it, right? Yeah. But
sure. That's just my experience with the substance.
For sure.
I just couldn't regulate the amount of substances or weed I was smoking because that was just the way I dealt with stress. And I had stress no matter how much weed I smoked.
Yeah, so you end up smoking a lot more weed. I did the same thing for a long time. So, I don't know. I can get it. I can relate to that. But it's pretty neat being off of it for a long period of time. How do you feel that being off your drug of choice has improved or changed your life?
Well, it feels like I'm a different person now, sort of. Like I'm actually alive for most of the days that I'm awake. I enjoy being sober very much. I mean, I'm kind of microdosing right now. But yeah, it's not as painful as I expected it to be. It's when I used to smoke weed, I would fear being sober again. That's usually a sign that you should probably quit a substance. But I think it's led me to make a lot of changes in my life that ended up becoming very positive. I no longer feel the need to be in that comfortable to put myself. I can put myself outside of my own comfort zone more easily because I'm not constantly trying to. How do I say this? I'm not constantly pacifying myself, and being in that like zone of comfort was normal for me, and I wouldn't dare step out of it. And realizing that I had to lose that in order to overcome my problems, which were outside of my comfort zone, where I had to step out to deal with my problems, I think it's made me grow a lot. But I think weed has helped in the way that they've made me really see, like for the longest time I didn't realize I had all these issues, but weed made them grow to the point where I just couldn't unsee them or just couldn't handle them. So in the worst way possible, weed has helped me become aware of these issues, which just simply led me to stop smoking weed.
That's true.
And I realized that it was making them grow bigger and worse.
That's probably not the worst thing though. Like you become more self-aware through realizing the mistakes you've made, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's life though. You gotta learn through your mistakes.
Yeah, it's not all bad.
That's true. And it's a valuable lesson, I'd imagine. But yeah, I know that weed was a part of it, but I feel like connecting with other people has been something that you've valued, especially recently. Yeah. Knowing you for the last year.
For sure. Obviously,
we don't have to get into the nitty-gritty.
I've become more of a social person ever since I quit smoking weed, by the way.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that. Well, I don't know. I didn't know you very much before last year, really, because we met in September of last year in an English class, funny enough. I think I mentioned that. Sorry, I'm tired. But, sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. No, it's cool. You've changed a lot, but I think for the better.
Stop smoking weed. I know some people who function totally fine, but I don't know what.
Enjoy weed responsibly.
Is like, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, like I got plenty of friends who will just like do an edible for fun and ride the bus, or like just smoke weed with it. Yeah. Shout out to you know who you are.
Can you even ride a bus without ingesting an edible?
No, it's just a meme. I don't know. It's not really a meme.
Did it just go on like a hour-long bus trip or something?
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty fun idea.
Honestly.
If I didn't get crippling anxiety. That's what started happening. That's also another reason why I quit weed. It's just by the end of it, like, it made me anxious because by the end of it, I knew that once the weed wore off, I would have to face my issues again, and that just made me realize that they were kind of already there, the issues. And it got to the point where I would smoke weed, and then I'd be like, okay, this is the last pack of joints I'm gonna buy, and then like the next next 3 days or something, I'd buy another pack of joints, and I'd take a hit, and I was like, fuck, I smoked weed, and I threw it out, and then I would do it again, and then that went on for a while, and I was like, this is just fucking ridiculous. I'm just like buying a whole bunch of weed and not smoking like half of it, so I just quit smoking weed.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Yeah, that was quite an eventful night. It just suddenly came to me. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna fucking stop.
How did it came to you? Sorry.
It wasn't premeditated at all. Like, I was like, I would always be like, oh, I would stop smoking for a while and wait for things to, maybe things will get better, and then I'll start smoking weed again. And then whenever I had plans to start smoking weed again, I would just immediately just give up on the break and buy a bunch of weed. So I decided to never make plans to smoke weed again, and I haven't made any plans. Yeah. I'm not saying like I'm never gonna smoke weed. I don't think I have any intention I don't have any intention to smoke weed in the next, I don't know, years to come, but maybe it might happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what can happen?
I think that's the biggest mindset tip that I've learned from Kody. Because I think, at least I had the same issue too, where when people would be like, when I would be like, oh, I'm gonna quit for 3 months, I'm gonna take a 2-week break, whatever.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, you're just gonna smoke weed again at the end of the day, or you're gonna be at a month and a half in your 3-month break and be like, oh, it's only a month and a half, I'm already halfway done, I could smoke a bit of weed. I did great.
Good job.
It's too much. So
good job for the hard work.
All the hard work, I should reward myself by ruining all of it. So yeah, like, now if someone offers me weed, I'll just be like, I don't smoke weed. Like, despite me having done it in the past, or knowing that like one day in the future I might again, I just don't right now, and that's okay. Like, that's where I'm at. And you know, thank you, Kody, for showing me, I guess not showing me, but leading by example in a way. Yeah, honestly, it really did. And like, now that, at least for me, I've been off it for a while, and my life has been considerably better. I'm very happy to not feel dependent on a substance. And yeah, I feel like I can do more things, like enjoy social drugs with moderation, or experiment or whatever, and not have to feel worried like it's going to start ruining my life because I'm dealing with my problems. It's pretty magical. So yeah, I don't know.
Do more drugs now?
I guess so.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. Well, I've quit alcohol recently because I realized, I saw it while I was taking psychedelics, which is a drug, but I saw in my mind that alcohol was filling the same hole that I was filling with weed. And then as soon as I had that vision, I was like, yeah, alcohol is gone. I'm not going to drink alcohol again. So yeah, quitting weed has also definitely led me to quitting alcohol as well. But I think smoking weed if I didn't smoke weed, I don't think I would have gotten into psychedelics, which is, I would say it's a blessing.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Honestly. Yeah, that's an interesting one, because clearly a lot of your art is inspired by the experience.
Use of drugs.
Yeah.
We're just here talking about, don't do drugs.
Yeah, I'm curious, how do you think that's influenced you, not only in art, but in life?
100%.
No, but how? Like, how? It clearly has influenced at least your art.
How am I supposed to answer this question?
With words?
words and psychedelics, they go together very, very well.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of just changed my perception on everything. I'm talking about how I live. I used to be a very closed off person. That's a great question, but I'm not sure if I could answer that as well as I want to.
That's okay. I'd love for you to try.
Yeah. I don't know, I just see myself in everyone else now, and I'm not at all afraid to connect with people anymore, even if it's just like a random stranger at the store. It's just, I feel like I get something out of like improving someone else's day, just by offering them like a social gesture, maybe like even just a smile, or like, I don't know, I think people, and I live off of that kind of thing too. Some people might say it's like, oh, it's not, doesn't have any meaning, it's kind of pointless. But I think it's the same thing as art. It doesn't have a real point or meaning behind it other than itself. And it doesn't have worth. And people will say it doesn't have any worth. It's just do your job and get it done quick. But I don't know, I think there's more important things than that. Than just making money. But as I said, you need art to be able to make money too. Sorry, what was the question again? Something about psychedelics?
Something about drugs. I was asking you how you think that it's impacted you as a person. Like what part of you do you think has benefited from it? I guess is a good way to word that question. I think you answered it somewhat.
I think it's made me realize that I can be a lot more relaxed than I used to be. And just, I used to be a very paranoid person. Although you might have, I guess you didn't know me back then, but I would have a lot of ideas about how like people thought about me, and that made me very distressed and uncomfortable at times with talking about myself to like other people. And I would usually, if I had a problem, I'd keep it to myself. And the number one thing I feared was getting help from other people. And it's just, psychedelics have, I think a lot of people have a lot of different kinds of fears, and I think psychedelics is good at just dissolving those patterns, or like those paranoid thought patterns which lead to fear and being closed off to other people. And I think psychedelics create a wonderful space for like different kinds of people to connect with each other, and that's led to many great things for sure.
That very reasonable. How do you think vulnerability has helped you? Because you mentioned like being very closed off and not like keeping problems to yourself, stuff like that. But kind of the other side of that coin is putting yourself out there, like letting yourself get hurt or be judged, and maybe having that happen. But at the same time, like it could also end up better. Like you get to talk about a problem, or someone can be there to be there for you, feel some reciprocity with things, or gain more understanding. Like what's kind of the other side of that coin for you, like vulnerability instead of being closed off?
Well, I think I've come to realize through partially through the use of psychedelics and just having like normal world experiences, everyone has like this side to them that no one else can see, and I think when people admit that to each other, it creates a very strong bond that's not very just superficial. Like, you could have like a really shallow friendship with someone where like you don't really know the person, but who knows, you just like hang out with them, smoke weed, and like do nothing, don't really say or do much with them, and then leave. But like I feel like being vulnerable around certain people allows you to connect with them, especially because like it makes you guys feel like you're not like truly alone in the world. Like everyone deals with issues, everyone suffers, and sometimes it might seem like you're the only one who's suffering, but once you start talking about these things with other people, it's not as lonely of a world than it previously seems. Let me think of something to say.
That's okay. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
That's a good answer, I would say. Do you want to elaborate on it more?
Yeah, I would like to. I'm just currently.
That's okay. Thinking.
Yeah.
You're allowed to do that. It's funny that thinking takes energy sometimes.
Yeah, your brain uses like 1/3 of all of your body's energy.
You know what uses the most energy of all your body, though? Do you know what uses the most energy of all of your body?
Digestive system?
Yeah. Damn it, you already knew this. I can't impress you with my kinesiology facts.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually pretty... I kind of guessed that now.
Huh?
I knew that it used a lot of energy, but I didn't know it was more than the brain.
Considerably.
So like the act of moving your body around is only like less than 1/3?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it depends on what you're doing. So like,
that's true.
Anyway, we could go into the nitty gritty of it, but I don't want to start rambling about kinesiology on a podcast where I'm interviewing someone else. I mean, unless you want me to ramble about things, please let me know in the comments, and you might get some Benjamin stares at a camera and rambles about things videos. But anyway, on to our point about vulnerability.
Yeah, I think I have something to say. So, like, when you're like being comfortable being vulnerable with someone, I feel like you're letting the other person, I think it feels like when someone else is vulnerable with me, I feel like I become more comfortable being around that person. And I feel like I can express myself more around that person because there's no shame with that person. They've told me about themselves, and I could tell them about myself, and I could just be myself and be seen truly for what I like, the person that I am. And I think that's a great thing. You know, the Nazis, they thought that what they were doing was totally the right thing, and that they didn't have a dark side to them. Clearly, I don't think that was true, but yeah, a lot of them actually like truly believed that they had good intentions, but obviously it didn't end up too great.
No, and I mean
sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, they kind of just denied the fact that they were not, like, they had a dark side to them, and you have to accept that there is a dark side to a light side, and if you try and make the white side win, then you're going to have problems. Or if you fully identify with one side against the other, you're going to have problems because you're just fighting against yourself. Not sure how to elaborate on that, but does that make sense, what I'm saying?
No, totally. You got to accept yourself as a whole, good and the bad. If you're only looking at the good parts of yourself, you're blind to the mistakes you're making.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you could do anything for fucking kill 5 million Jews just for the greater good.
And think you were totally justified in it.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Have parties.
Yeah. Weren't they on a bunch of drugs too? That's a whole nother can of worms.
Well, apparently they lost old D-Day because Hitler was doing a bunch of downers, and he would do uppers in the morning, and he would do downers at night because he couldn't. He's like, oh, I can't sleep. And like, and then just inject me with fucking benzos and so on and so forth, and like animal testosterone or whatever. And then Dr. Merkel would like inject him with a bunch of downers. He'd pass out, and on D-Day, like, he just didn't wake up at all. and they were just like, fucking wake up. They're like, the entire industrial might of the Allies is landing in Normandy. Like, you have to wake up and like tell people to do things, because Hitler was like he kind of oversaw everything, like most important decisions, especially if the entire industrial might of the Allies were kind of just landing on Normandy. Yeah, and they had to like fucking inject him with cocaine and like meth, and then he's like, oh, what's happening? Oh, what? And then they lost. Well, that was a pivotal point of the war. But
thank God.
Yeah.
Shout out to drugs doing something good for the world.
Shout out to downers.
Yeah, shout out to kava. Lovely downer.
Oh, we also did some kava today.
Yeah.
Clearly we don't have a drug problem.
No. But no, I that was a funny tangent. I had other questions and they've kind of escaped my brain. I'm just laughing at Sleepy Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler didn't even know he was doing like cocaine and shit. Like, he was actually very much opposed to cocaine, but his doctors kind of just snuck it into his medication. So he was unknowingly high on cocaine every single day. And meth. He advocated the use of meth, so you were kind of just forced to take meth if you were in the Wehrmacht or any division.
All right, I'm gonna try and steer the conversation in the
away
direction.
from drugs and Hitler.
Yeah, like, as interesting as the Nazis' drug regimen is, I don't think that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. No, it's an interesting point, and I feel like it's not something a lot of people know about. But I don't know. This is something I always ask people when they come on the podcast, and I feel like it might be that time already. Please no. What were you like as a kid, and how do you think you've changed over the years? Like, I feel like you've gone through some pretty major story arcs, Kody. Like, a lot of people have been like, I've been the same since I was like 2. Really? I'm like, all right, buddy, but that's like, weird thing to say. Yeah, well, I think it's pretty normal. People don't change that much, I've realized, but I think you've changed a bunch, so I'm curious.
I've always had this part in me where that's like kind of curious, creative, and I don't know, I just kind of like to fuck around with things sometimes. I've always been that way. As a kid, I used to like deliberately go into timeout and be like, haha, fuckers, you have to do schoolwork. So I'd like deliberately go around breaking all the color pencils and so on and so forth, and then get shouted at.
A menace to society.
I kind of was. And at some point I became socialized, and I stopped wanting to be having bad rep from teachers, so I kind of avoided that. And yeah, there's a time when I did want to be like a part of the popular kids social sphere in like grade 1, but so then I got like a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and like on the first day of bringing the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they were stolen, and I was like, fuck this, like, these people are fucking assholes. So I would only hang out with, but like the people who. So I had this whole thing called the mine world, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I don't know. I could get into that.
Minecraft?
No. The mine world. Nothing to do with Minecraft. I didn't play any video games at this time. Mines are pretty much these alien creatures that kind of resemble Kirby, but I didn't really hear about Kirby at this time. Like, they physiologically resemble Kirby. And there are like innumerable different types of mines. And I would get like a bunch of people to like create mines and like create different types of mines. And I had this one friend, Rowan, who, shout out to Rowan, he's been a great homie for many years. I met him recently as well, but he kind of lives in Squamish, so I don't really see him all the time at all. But yeah, I would just only hang out with the people who agreed to live in my fantasy imaginary world in my head. And there was a time when I liked sports like soccer, basketball, but I don't know, I thought that the people who did all, I just kind of grew distant from the people who were playing these sports at school. I was like, oh, these people are assholes. I'm just gonna live in my own imagination. And that's actually what I did for a large portion of my childhood. And that's why I think I've developed in such a strange way. I've been kind of cut off from everyone for a good portion of my life, just in my own brain. Thinking about a lot of weird things. Like, I'm debating on whether if having romantic encounters with dinosaurs. Yeah. Or just like even crazier. Okay, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but it wasn't probably until like high school that I really started to like kind of step out of that imaginary world, and I was just like, oh yeah, there are like real world problems that I kind of have to deal with. And I think the death of my dad has really made me see things that way. I didn't really live with my dad. I would see him like every like week to like every like couple of months. It was pretty random. But I think that really changed me for sure, losing a parent at a young age. But right before I lost my dad, I got a lot closer. Like maybe like in the 2 years before he passed away, I got a lot closer to him, and that was perfect timing. But I don't know. I think he's taught me a lot of things about unconditional love, which have very much affected me, and I still hold these things dear to me. And this just kind of influenced the way I act around other people, or act towards my friends, and just strangers as well. But shout out to Dead Dad, Gene Cox. So I've slowly started stepping out of my imaginary world, but I was still a weird fucking kid, and I still am, and I continue to be so, and I'm proud of it. I'm unique. But in high school I went to the gold program. I have ADHD. I mean, I think we've actually mentioned that before.
Maybe once.
Yeah. I remember what we were talking. Now I remember what we're talking about, but yeah, that was the first time where I really saw or met a bunch of people who were somewhat similar, more or less, to myself, and I was like, huh, like perhaps I'm not too special. But that was the start of something very interesting. I had I thought I had the greatest friend group from that, and then I lost those people. They ended up not liking me, and that was quite traumatizing. But I think I've learned things from that as well. Also, what is the difference between me now and me then?
Yeah, it's hard to come up with a definitive answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're still
just
a curious, weird kid.
There are other people who lead their own lives, and I'm more interested in that. It kind of sounds a bit creepy, but
no, I get what you mean. From being very stuck in your own head to being like, wait a minute, other people aren't that uninteresting.
It's not all about me.
Yeah. That sounds like growing up, kind of.
I've opened up a lot more.
No, definitely.
Especially very recently after I quit weed.
Shout out to
quitting weed.
Yeah, actually dealing with your problems instead of trying to self-medicate. Pretty radical strategy, if you ask me. We got a bit of a question for you. What did your dad teach you about love?
Oh, it's just the way he acted around me, I guess. That's hard to say. Just being around him and being influenced by him was pretty much the answer to that, but I don't know, he was a pretty troubled person. But I think that's a good question. Let me think.
Take all the time you need, Kody. And if you can't come up with an answer, that's totally reasonable too. There's no pressure to answer anything. It is late. We have been
I would
talking.
just say, like, he's some of the nicest people I've ever met. Or
Yeah.
it's one person. But yeah.
Something to look up to.
Yeah, for sure. Some things I don't look up to, though.
Yeah.
Like alcoholism. But
Yeah, I get that. Shout out to dads.
yeah.
Love you, Dad. And all the dads out there.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it's interesting. I always found it funny how some of the most troubled people are also some of the nicest.
Yeah. Huh. You probably know that they have issues of their own, and other people have the same. So.
Yeah, know what it's like to go through it.
Exactly. They've accepted their dark side.
Yeah, totally. I can see that. But there was another direction I wanted to take this, and I forgot what it was again. I don't know, Kody. Maybe we should sleep. We've been running for like an hour and 20 minutes.
Shit, really?
Yeah. No, an hour and 19 minutes.
Like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know. It goes by pretty quick. Yeah, I don't know if I had any other questions for you. Do you have anything you want to say to give me like 2 seconds before I think of another question to keep this rolling? That was gross.
You're welcome.
Disrespectful.
I haven't really entirely stopped with my drug use, though. Maybe I should talk about this on YouTube.
Don't.
This is YouTube, right?
YouTube, Spotify, Apple. By the way, find me on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, I think other platforms too. If there's podcasts on them, look it up. It might be there. I honestly have no idea where this goes. So yeah, maybe don't just randomly list off all the things you're into.
Right.
Or have tried, potentially.
Yeah.
Because that is a fun laundry list, but at the same time, do you really want that on the internet?
About me?
But anyone, really. Yeah, I think it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't bother. Right. I did have a question for you that I just remembered the question. I love these moments when I stop thinking about questions and then I remember them.
You should say the question before you forget.
No, I already know what it is. It's in my brain.
Okay.
It's not going anywhere, Kody. Are you ready for this one? I think I might have asked you this before, actually, which is kind of silly. But do you think that art requires suffering, like something to work through, to put into it? Or can you just create art to create?
It could be, you could go both ways. So the answer is, I think there could be a lot of art that comes from the suffering, but the suffering isn't. I don't think the suffering is worth the art, but the art is just kind of has its own value. I think art could be used to mitigate suffering, but I don't think people should suffer in the name of art, if that makes any sense.
No, I get that.
I don't think suffering is required to create art, although wonderful art does arise from suffering. It's just, there's always a way to find greatness from any situation, especially through the use of art. And that's why I think art is so wonderful in this miserable world.
That's a great answer.
Doesn't really answer the question fully, but...
No, it does. I asked you, does art require suffering? And you said, not really. That's an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You can make art if you're suffering, but you can also make it if you're really happy about something.
Yeah, if I didn't make art and I was going through the suffering that's unimaginable. I don't know.
Yeah?
Like,
where do you...
As in, like, all kinds, any kind of art. Yeah, I don't think that is a life that would be livable.
Honestly, I can get that. How do you find art to be therapeutic?
Well, there are things which need to be seen in the mind, and I think art is just a great way to get that out. And by focusing your attention on what needs to be seen, I think it naturally leads to a process of healing. As I said, you gotta accept the dark side, man. But I used to do a lot of dark art, and I think that was the first step in allowing me to see that, like, I had issues that I had to deal with, or like myself, and that eventually led me to see that, everyone is suffering, everyone has issues that they're dealing with on their own. But how do I answer this? How is art therapeutic? I feel like sometimes when I'm stressed or sad or something, I feel like I need to get something out of my head. Not sure if you've ever experienced that the way I have, but that's when I do art. And once it comes out, I feel a lot better for sure. But ideally, I don't know, art isn't a pleasure to be feared. I think unlike certain things, overindulging yourself with substances is different. You could keep doing it, but I don't know if it'll make you any better. But art, it's something that you could work on and you get better at art. And at the same time, it's just really enjoyable to do art. And I feel that you could connect, like by doing art, you connect with other people artists who have a lot of things to talk about that are who are sort of, I feel that artists are able to connect with each other very well. I'm not sure how to explain that, but we're all just like pretty funky people, and we relate to each other by being different in a way. A lot of people form groups out of excluding other groups, and I don't think that's the way to go. Forming groups through hatred isn't healthy. I think forming relationships with other people through art and accepting each other's different, even like admiring each other's differences and peculiarities is just the way to go, because that's just the crowd you want to be in, because everyone's going to be different no matter what you do, and just you got to accept that and be fine with it and enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy weird people like you.
Thanks for calling me weird, Kody. No, I'm joking.
That's never an insult for me.
All right. Well, it isn't for me either. I'm just teasing you. So I guess to
use that in a purely positive, that word in a purely positive way.
Okay. So to recap your answer and what I absorbed from it.
That was kind of a difficult roundabout way of saying that.
No, it's okay. So you find art to be therapeutic because it lets you get things out of your head, and it also helps you connect to communities of like-minded people.
Yeah, for sure. That's the latter half was something I discovered recently by joining or getting into art school. But also I've experienced that to a degree in high school as well. But more so in art school, obviously, because you're with a bunch of artists, and I was like, wow, I'm not the only weird person around here. Like, man, these people do awesome stuff, and it's just so crazy to know that there are like other people who are like far more talented than I am. I don't know. It's actually cool to be able to like see like great artists in person. And it inspires me to do more art too. So it's kind of a self-contained sort of cycle of healing.
Cool. I like that. I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
It's been moving. I got one last question for you. What would you say to people listening to this who maybe feel like they don't make as much art as they want to?
Well, if you ever get an idea to make a piece or get an idea for a piece, do it as soon as you can, because you're going to get distracted with, or you're going to be like, oh, I'll do it later. You're going to get distracted with like other shit. So get it down as soon as possible. At least get the idea down as soon as possible. Maybe just like make a sketch of it or something. Just make some time. Just maybe move like your day, or like schedule your day around just so that you have maybe even just like 20 minutes to just draw or do whatever you want, and start from there. Just make small steps. You can't just go from you can't just immediately go to like painting 3 hours a day. That's too much for someone who's currently wondering if they could do any art at all. So start small.
Cool. Thank you for listening.
You don't have to. If you feel like, if you start doing art and you feel like doing more, then just definitely go for it, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything, isn't it?
It's really not. We could keep talking for a long time.
There's a lot of things that we missed.
There'll have to be a part 2 at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you enjoy your podcast experience?
At first, I thought it was kind of difficult, but I think it's an interesting way to get inside of my head.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Used to, and like, I don't know, things just keep popping up to talk about, which isn't actually something that usually happens when I have a conversation with someone. But I guess that, especially when I'm tired. But
yeah, it is 2:44 in the morning right now. We are on the way to bed. We got to go rock climbing tomorrow. Got a busy schedule.
I think this is a great way to build like your conversational skills.
Oh, totally. I think it's helped me a lot because now I don't feel as awkward just like hanging out with random people and asking them questions. But still awkward though. I hate talking to people most of the time.
I'm getting there too.
Yeah.
That's my face.
Shit. Please don't. It's gonna be so loud. I need to compress the audio. Yeah. Oh well. They'll survive. This is what you get if you sat here for an hour and a half listening to us talk.
Oh, the lighting's wonderful.
It's kind of epic. Yeah, I set it up.
It looks like I'm the subject here right now because all the bright lights on me, and then you just have like a shadow.
I know.
Yeah. Is that what you meant?
Of course.
Indirect light versus direct light.
Yeah, that was the plan. Anyway, thank you so much. If you made it this far, you must be a true fan. And to like the 3 people watching this, I am eternally grateful. You are the reason I do this shit. Actually, that's not true. I just like watching. I just like talking to people and making this stuff. People I like talking to. That's the whole point. The show where I talk to people I like talking to. Yeah, it turns out you're one of those people, Kody.
Thank you.
Hopefully expect more content soon, you 3. I appreciate you all a lot. And I don't know, fucking subscribe if you haven't. Find me on podcasting apps, wherever you consume your long form audio content. I'm probably there. If not, what are you doing?
It's also probably podcasts are really bad for your spine. I've been in a really bad posture for like more than an hour and a half.
Yeah, we've just been sitting on cushions.
Yeah.
I gotta get better chairs. That's kind of the vibe though. I kind of like it. You get uncomfortable, you start focusing on what you're talking about because you don't want to think about the fact that you've been slouching on a cushion for the last hour.
This position's good for digestion though.
That's true.
I also need a pee.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioned that before we started. God damn it, Kody. All right, I guess that's it. Before I turn off things, I gotta do the traditional B-side episode finish. It's been too long, people. I'm really sorry for the hiatus. What are we doing again? Right, gotta thank my sponsors. No, my people that have helped me. Thank you all very much. I want to say a big thank you to Sam Mitchell, for whom I have audio that gives me kind of an aesthetic and a brand. So for that, I'm very grateful. Thank you, Sam. I want to say a big thank you to my friend Eldridge, who made my banner and my logo. So thank you, Eldridge. Yeah. You are the reason I am presentable, and for that I am very grateful. I want to thank my friend Cooper, because you're the person that gave me this idea kind of in the first place, very long time ago. So if you're listening, big thank you. I want to thank Reiner for showing me how to set up lighting and film and deal with these audio files that my computer spits out at me that are horrendously unbalanced and shit. So thank you. I want to say thank you to John Isgara. You know why. I'm not going to say it. I've been advised not to. And I want to say thank you to Noah for letting me borrow your Premiere Pro while that lasted. I want to say a special thank you to all the people that gave me money when I asked for it, which is insane to me. But you're the only reason that this podcast is on streaming services at all, so thank you. And I want to say a very special thank you to my only sponsor, my mother, who is awesome. She's letting me use this space, and bought me shit and stuff. Oh my god, we got kitten number 2 here.
Special thanks to kitten number 2.
She's so sweet. Wait, look at this thing.
She doesn't want to be held right now.
That's okay. She's adorable. Her name is Cricket Jr. or the second, whatever you prefer. So yeah. Other than that, thanks, Mom. I love you, Mom. Can I get a round of applause for mothers, please? Quietly, though. I don't want to wake her up.
Oh, you're not even going to thank me for being on the podcast.
Okay, and a special thank you to my guest today, Kody.
Very, very welcome.
Yeah, it's been fun. No, don't even thank me, Kody. You're making me content. You are my content. Today, at least. So yeah, it's been fun. If you're watching this long, I don't know what you're doing, unless you're my mom. Hello. Alright, have a good night, people. Or morning, whenever you're consuming this media. Mwah. See you later.
Actually, I might not see you later, but I will see you later at some point.
Maybe.
Yeah, hopefully.
Love you all. Mean it. Mwah.